Hey gang, we're back. Welcome back to the channel. Those of you that are new, welcome. Normally we're doing a lot of Jeep stuff here. Recently you might have seen some of the videos that we've done on this 2019 Ford in regards to putting a tonneau cover on it, some seat covers in it, as well as a bed rug. The tires are starting to get a little skinny. I can't leave things well enough alone, so I thought it was a perfect time for a little larger tire, a leveling kit, maybe some new wheels. So what we've got going here, we've got some 35, 12.5, 18-inch Patagonia XTs. Those were on our last Ford that this one replaced. What an outstanding set of tires. Those things took everything that we threw at it, and for a daily driver, absolutely loved them. So we're going to put them on here. Again, we've got some new wheels, and we've got a Ready Lift 2.5-inch leveling kit for the front of it. So we thought we'd bring that to you, show you how that process goes on, and just bring you along while we gave this 2019 a altitude adjustment and a bit of a facelift. Of course, my wife loves how just a set of tires has to turn into something bigger, something better, maybe a little bit shinier. So follow along. We've got some improvements to make. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing up in the air, confirm the fit of the wheels before we get the wheels and tires down to the tire shop, but that's where we're going to get started. Now that we got it up in the air, I just want to show the little stack of products that I've got ready for it. Alright, let's get these factory wheels and tires off here. As stated, I wanted to test fit these because last thing you want to do is buy wheels and tires only to find out that the wheels are the wrong bolt pattern, they were shipped wrong, you ordered them wrong, but always good to confirm your fit. Oh yeah, those are going to look nice on there. First two things I need to do are take this bracket for the brake line away from the frame, as well as the one down here at the axle. Okay, those are loose. I'll go do the same for the other side. Now that I've got the brake line brackets removed on both sides, it's time to take the shocks loose from the bottom or the lower end by the axle. So I'm just going to break this free. All right, that bracket's off. Bolts out. The next step is going to be to remove the sway bar brackets from the frame. Hopefully, it's starting to rain out here, so hopefully it's not too noisy to where you can't hear, but I'm just going to crack these loose, let that just drop on down and rest there. Alright, the next step in the process is to loosen, but I will not be removing this radius arm bolt at the frame back here. So what that's going to do is just give this a little more freedom to move when I lower that front axle down to get those springs out. Yep, no problem. So as you can see, that's loose enough I can turn it by hand, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same on the passenger side. Alright, both those radius arm bolts are loose. Now I can get ready to drop that front axle and get those springs out of there. I just loosened the radius arm bolts and was getting ready to lower the axle, but I wanted to look at a couple things before I did. And I noticed this is the brake line, the ABS stuff. So man, that's already tight. I haven't even begun to lower it, so I think I'm going to pop this clip out. I noticed a couple things, same thing on the other side, so I'll pop it out. And then the vent hose for the differential, it's already tight, so it's going to take me probably 6 inches to at least 6 inches to drop this thing down to give these coils enough room to wiggle out. So This is something to be very cognizant and cautious of, so it's always good to take a second look before you start stretching and lowering things, because if you don't see something like that, you may wind up with bigger problems. There, that'll at least give it room to move, and then I'll just pop that back in when I'm done. Here's that vent tube. Pop that sucker off of there. Okay, here we are, moment of truth. I'm going to start lowering these jacks down and see how much that that axle starts to drop. Okay, and then I'll get ready to put the spacer on top of here, the little pad that goes on top of it, and then it'll all go back in there. I've got the isolator that goes on top of the spacer, and then of course the spring with this. One thing I do want to point out, you got to be careful or make sure that, hopefully you can get a good visual on this, you want to make sure that that spring is bottomed out like that, and then the bottom of it as well has a spot here that stops it. So when you put everything back together, make sure that that is all locked in place. The label sticking outward. I'm not sure if I've got enough room here or not. Yeah, I'm just a little bit short of having the space I need. So what I'm going to do is use the hoist, try and get me a little more space. Everything looks like it's still got room to move. There. All right. So again, make sure that that's in place. This is going to be lined up how I want it. I'll go to the other side, put those same components in. All right, now I'm going to put the passenger side in again. Can't stress enough that you want to make sure that that spring is butted up to this little locking point, we'll call it. And as you can see, there's still a little room for things to move, but want to make sure that those springs and bushings, everything are bottomed out as they need to be, top and bottom on both sides. Next step is going to be installing the drop-down brackets for the sway bar. Those will go on with the factory nuts. You want to make sure you put those bolts in first, because you're going to have limited access after getting these started. These factory nuts need to be torqued to 35 foot-pounds. With the brackets torqued down, now I'm going to put this sway bar back on here with the new brackets, and sometimes this can be a little bit of a wrestling match, just trying to get things lined up since you've got so much to wiggle around and try to align. I'll just get these kind of locked in, and then I'll torque them down to that 35 foot-pounds. There it is, straightforward enough. Now I'll move on to the bump stops. Before I move to that bump stop, I'm going to go ahead and reattach these brake lines on both sides, the lower ones to the axles, and then Ready Lift does provide brackets for up here. So I'll get ready to put those on as well. But like I said, then I'll swap out the bump stops with the new spacers. Since I'm messing with the brake lines, I did get the bracket attached at the axle. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this up top here. Ready Lift does have a bracket that they include with the kit. Goes on as such. All of these bolts and nuts from the factory one to the additional that they add on are all 13. I wanted to just look at things in here, but you'll see there's this plastic line holder, and if you're just gently pulling down on this brake line, it will slide within it. You can kind of see it moving, so with that you're just gonna very gently pull down. You can probably see it moving up there. I might be blocking the light, but anyway, you pull it down enough to get this bracket lined up. There we go, that should do it. There. And you may have to kind of manipulate or maneuver it a little bit to get things to line up. Once again, I'll go repeat the same procedure and process on the passenger side. I just wanted to take a second and show the passenger side. This brake line actually goes up, over, and then down. So it's different than the driver's. You can't just pull it down. You have to do a little bit of gentle, again, manipulation, and you'll get it to where things will line up. But obviously just always be careful with those brake lines, but it does go on there, and everything is locked down tight as it should be. Since I did take that vent line from the diff out, I'll get that put back in. I'll go ahead and pull this bump stop. That just usually wiggles out of there. Had to go grab my 10mm socket. All right. Something else I want to point out before putting this spacer from Ready Lift in, you'll see one end has an additional hole, and what that's for, try and put this in the light well enough, so that lines up, so you can see how it will set flush, and then when you put all of this through here, sorry about the noise from the heater, it sits flat. So if you were to put it upside down or not get that lined up, you can see it's going to put it at a pitch. So there is a purpose for that additional hole. And then this new bolt and hardware provided, it just bolts right back into that factory hole. All right, yep, and it's still flush. So the hole's lined up with that alignment tab. That feels like about 5 foot-pounds. And now the fun part, trying to wiggle that bump stop back in there. There's times I fight these, and I'll just use something to put a little pressure on top of that axle if I can't get it. There we go. That's it. Since I'm standing right here and thinking about it, seems like just as good a time as any to tighten that bolt for them radius arms. Alright, go do the other side real quick. Alright, the next thing that I need to do is install the new shock mount bracket. Relatively straightforward and simple. Just going to use the factory hardware. It goes in. If that's a little tight, you may need to tap it in with a hammer. Something else that does help, if you're able, kind of getting that shock up and out of the way so you're not fighting it when you're trying to put this in. That does help as well. Now that both of these are in, I'll tighten them down to 45 foot-pounds. Alright, like I said, we'll go do the same to the other side. Now to the last and probably my least favorite component. I've got to take this track bar loose so I can take this factory track bar bracket down and install the new one from Ready Lift to compensate for that distance, and that way that axle is centered again. I don't know what it is. I got trust issues with these, but I'll take this nut off, loosen this up, and try and adjust the height to where this is hopefully loose enough that I can get that out of there without any kind of a shock load. I just don't like having these things up in the air and having to break this loose. So that's what I'll do next. I did put this in an earlier step, and I think I'll just go ahead and take it back out right now so I can access it from the back side there with my impact. Get this on here, back that up. Alright, with that out of there, now I'm gonna see. Oh heck, that's actually pretty good. I like it. Looks like it was sitting at a pretty good height. from where I adjusted it for those shocks. Just gonna tie this up and out of my way so I don't end up running into it. Okay, after a little cussing, some sweating, a little bleeding, got this dog loose. Time to get her out of here. There it is. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there it is. And we've got our new track bar bracket. And now for the fun part. Let's see if we can line those bolts up. All right, in an effort to keep this from being a 3-hour video, maybe, look at there. I ain't gonna lie to you and tell you that this thing is easy and it'll put itself together. This is 100% why I wanted to leave this bracket for last. Okay, now that I got that all put in place, I will torque it down and try and get this track bar installed. All right, everything on this new bracket gets torqued to 95 foot-pounds. Yes, I'm using an impact socket on my torque wrench because it's what I just had on the impact. Cut this loose and see how far off we are. It's going to be one of them situations where the powder coat is thick enough that it's problematic for a nice, easy transition. Adjust this axle or the height. So close, yet so far away. Oh no. Look at me. There. Okay, this little gem right here gets torqued to 250 foot-pounds. Got that torqued down. Now I just have to put this bump stock back in there. Just like that. There it is, everything's torqued, installed. Now I can get it off this lift and get some wheels and tires put on it. Okay, I got this thing back on the ground. I went ahead and put the stock wheels and tires, or actually the stock size wheels and tires back on there, just to give you a sense of how it looks after the fact. Now, the back, before I started, was about 43 and a eighth, 43 and a quarter from this lip of the fender well to the ground. Up front, I went from 40 and 3/4 to right at about 43. So it's significant. And really, if I didn't intend to put larger tires on there, it would still look fine. I do like it. I did throw a level on the bed rail just to kind of see how level it was. The front does have a slight rake, which is great. I mean, very minimal, but I'm happy with it. Again, everything is tightened up, torqued down, but I'm not going to leave those wheels and tires on there. I just simply put that back in to show you guys what it looks like before and after. But my intention is to put these Vision wheels wrapped in these Milestar Patagonia XTs. These tires are fantastic. I ran them on my last Ford. They're a good all-season, all-weather tire, and I think it's going to look good. All right, let's get these wheels and tires swapped out. I'm happy with it. The just for reference, my wheel well clearance to begin with the factory setup was about 43.5 inches. Of course, with just a leveling kit up front, this wasn't going to change. But with the taller tires, this is now it went from 43.5 to 45. This up here was about 40 inches. And now with the 2.5 inch leveling kit, these taller tires, this edge of the wheel well to the ground sits at about 44.5 inches. So the front to the rear is only a 1/2 inch different. I'm very happy with it. So that's it. If you're thinking about a ready lift kit, this leveling kit is straightforward enough, easy to install. The wheels are 18 inch with a -12 offset, and the Milestar Patagonia XTs are 35 1250s. So the stance is great. I'm going to take it out for a shakedown run and get it aligned, and then I'll be driving it. So that's it. Thanks for watching.